So the first thing I want to do is just kind of thank everyone for coming. I know it's kind of getting long, so I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter. Also try to be a little entertaining. I want to thank the other groups for just what they've shared. I didn't even think some of the things that they've mentioned, so I've kind of enjoyed it. I also want to thank Dale Googles for coming from First Star. I know he came all the way from Omaha to talk to us tonight and listen to what we've been doing. And he's also been a huge help throughout the process. And lastly, I want to thank our teacher, Mrs. Nelson, for giving us a real-life problem to help us solve and get real-life business experience. So I know I've learned a lot, and I know everyone else has too. So let's better our future. This next part with the voice of a great political leader here. And as he would say, I had my best people working on this. So my first best person was Evie Lin. She's from Taiwan. That's not China. She made the iMovie. She directed and created it. The next person I have is Tyson Harney. He made the PowerPoint that you're seeing up there. It's great. The third person I had is Cole Bursch. He wrote the newspaper article, great propaganda stuff. Then I had Blake Johnson. He made a poster. That was great. Abby Carmichael wrote the grant, and I'm the team leader. So now we're done with the silliness. Let's talk about some problems that we identified in our current program. So through the surveys that you've all been hearing about tonight, and through the research done by Grant Ziebel, we kind of came up with a lot of this research. And so this first problem we identified was that only 65.1% of people in town and in the businesses were recycling. And we thought that's barely even 50%. We need to get that up. And the next slide will show the graph of what that really looks like. So that showed that we have 35% people not recycling in town, and that's just unacceptable. So the second problem we also found out through our surveys was that only about 23% of Oakland residents didn't know we had a recycling program available. And we thought, if people don't know that they can recycle and that that's an option, how are we going to improve it? So we thought we need to help improve how we recycle and how people know about recycling and why they want to recycle. The third problem that we identified, oh, that's the graph for that. The third problem that we identified was that the transfer station is not set up in a way that is easy to recycle and easy to access the stuff. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see a diagram that Daisy also used in her presentation. I got this from Grant Ziebel's report. And on the left, we have a picture of what it currently is kind of the setup at the dump. And on the right is a proposed idea of how we could set up the dump so that it would be more efficient. And that leads us into the first phase of my plan. On the next slide. And that is fixing or rearranging the dump and improving our system there. So the first thing we would want to do there is upgrade the bins. And we thought about getting new bins, and we found you can store recyclables in any containers, so why get new ones? But we did decide we should start labeling them so people know that we have recycling down there and where to put their materials. The second thing we came up with was rearranging the bins as I showed in the previous slide. It would make it easier for people, and I know whenever you're down there, you're in line trying to recycle. So this would help it become fast and easier for everyone. The third thing that we came up with was posting signage. These signs would be at the dump, letting all residents know about the recycling that we have. The fourth thing we thought of was making the dump open at hours that work for everybody. I know that we've talked to a lot of business people and people that worked around town, and they said, if I'm working on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's hard for me to get to the dump after I get off of work. And on Saturday, nobody wants to get up and go to the dump. I know, Gerald, you get to do it all the time. And this would have to be approved by City Council and be okay with Gerald. But we thought maybe that would be a solution. So that would lead us into our next phase, which is phase 2, which is the school. And at first we thought we're going to get bins for every classroom. But although we generate a lot of recyclables, we don't generate that much. So we thought if we got 10 55-gallon recycling bins, we could really do the job well. We would put 2 of these in the main high school hallway, where all high schoolers could put their garbage. We would also put 2 down at the high school football field, as there's a lot of events held down there during the fall and summer. And lastly, we would put around 6 around this school in here for during basketball games, concerts, and other activities that are hosted here. We also thought about possibly putting one in the hospitality room, or it's just also the elementary art room, as that is almost always set up for any event here. The last phase of our plan is the town. And the first part of that phase would be getting recycling bins for public buildings and locations around town. The first, these buildings would be auditorium, places would be like the fairgrounds and in the park. We use the same size recycling bins, and we would get about 40 of them. We would purchasing posters that would really get to why do we recycle, why would we want to. And if you go to the next slide, Tyson, you'll see kind of what the poster design is. It's similar to the rest, and you could make slight adjustments, but this would let people know when we're recycling, why we should recycle, and our current recycling problems. So if you go back to the next slide, you'll see the last part of that slide, which is in-town recycling bins. Now, we had this as an option before, and this would only be something that would be available once we had gained community pride and were willing to respect the recycling equipment we currently have. So if we go to the next slide, please. All right, so now we're getting to the cost and the benefits of why would we recycle and how much is this going to cost us. So we're going to assume that our capture rate will increase from what we're currently at, 40% to 50%. And that means how much recyclable material are we actually, that's going into them, are we actually getting out? That's what I mean by capture rate. We're also going to say we're going to need approximately 40 of those 55-gallon recycling bins for the city to use, about 10 of those for the school to use. We're going to assume that if we were going to go back to in-town recycling, the city still has the old one that they kind of got disrespected. And we would also need to purchase signs that would be placed around the dump and on the bins, and get posters for advertising around town. So here are the costs. The recycling bins would cost us about $4,000. That's the most expensive item on the list. And the signs and posters would total up to around $1,500. A total, our project is going to cost around $6,000. But if we go to the benefits, as you can see, as we found in Grant Siebel's report, a 10% capture increase is going to generate us $5,000 a year than we were currently putting in. So of that 18 that we talked about earlier, it would only be 13 going to in tipping costs. And there's also some things on that list that you can't really put a monetary value on, like community pride. I know Oakland loves to come support their different activities. You all came here to watch us because you love to support our students. So Oakland is a proud community, and I think if we got the community proud about recycling, it would really be something that we could do. I also think that it would improve our environment. You always hear about going green. Well, why can't we be a small community that's going green? So with that, I think you've heard enough. Let's better our future. Do we have any questions? Yes.
These 55-gallon recycling things, are they moved around with trucks? Or how does the
That is the size that is currently sitting over there. See about that. I talked to the head custodian here, Mr. Holtman, and he helped me learn about the sizes of the different bins that they use around town. So it would be like the bags and stuff that you see in here.
So for every recycling bin, there's going to be another trash bin right next to it?
Yes, we would try to place them where the trash bins are currently located. So that way you could see, here's my trash, here's my recycle. Yes.
It was good to see a group that talked about it being a little bit strange to get all these recycling posters on Main Street and then just a trash can by it would be a little bit difficult, but just the thought for the city council as this kind of moves forward is if we were to increase the capture rate from the $5,000 a state, I think kind of interesting to earmark ahead of time where that's going to go, potentially improvements to the dump, something so as I'm standing there, there's a tangible benefit right there to recycle.
Daniel, could you answer for me? We didn't talk about this at home, I'm asking now. The diagram with the change at the transfer station there, when he did the diagram, did it include like different kinds of bins? Because the bins currently, and some of the material couldn't sit outside. And so is the stuff sitting outside? Any idea on how that would be done? Or would there have to be, covers on the bins? Any ideas on that?
You'd probably have to talk to Gerald. He knows more about it than I do. He didn't mention much in his report, and he doesn't really even say what these bins are here. He just kind of got the basic design layout. You can see that some of them can go inside the building, and if some of them couldn't sit outside, yes, covers would be an option.
Well, right now, we've got papers inside, we've got plastic inside, and we've got the cardboard inside. The only thing that's out is tin.
Yeah, and the tin cans can sit outside.
Really, all but cardboard and paper can sit outside, right?
Pardon me?
All but cardboard and paper can sit.
Well, you don't want, plastic has to be inside, otherwise you get windy, it'll blow them away.
Okay.
I think you picked them up.
You know, this is a good time, another way that, you were talking about, float for parade and stuff, but this is a good time. Donnie Dodd, who's with the 150 years of Oakland, he's been doing 150 seconds of Oakland, and he's gonna do a weekly one, and I think it'd be great timing to do one with this Go Green and promoting the fact that 150 years of Oakland, and we're still bettering ourselves, and we're still making things, positive and heading towards the future, because our motto is looking back while moving forward. I think it could capitalize on that, and it'd be a great time to get your information out there, even during the celebration, and let other people and communities know what a great job you're doing.
Anybody else? I think that's it. Thank you.